What it is. 1 month in. 1 month in officially. Today is March 29th. This war officially started on the early morning of February 28th. Since then, oil has gone up a lot and stocks have gone down substantially, but not as far as they might. Futures markets just opened. This video right now is called Black Monday, ? Iran War Day 30, Black Monday, ? I don't know, though, really. I don't know if it's time, so I might change the title. The last episode was called Escalation, and there was escalation Friday and this weekend. That's why we're watching markets to see if oil suddenly jacks up and the stock market suddenly dumps. The Iranians are giving investment advice because it's a financial war. That's why. I don't know if it's the first one ever, but I don't remember another war like this where the asymmetric warfare in this case is an economic war deliberately to try to crash the world economy so that we Americans and Israelis capitulate, total surrender, the Iranians would probably say, just like we asked for. We are nowhere near total surrender on either side, I don't think. Nakfugit immediately messaged taco. Well, we are at the point, according to the taco index, which apparently there is one. It's two standard deviations above the norm, the taco index. So once again, that came from financial elites, I guess, or traders or whatever. Trump always chickens out. We are at the point in terms of polling, a combination of opinion polling, stock market, bond market, where Trump traditionally chickens out and makes a deal rapidly to turn things around rapidly. But in this case, I'm proposing that a taco is almost impossible unless we admit defeat immediately, which I think probably any reasonable person will say Trump is not ready to do that. Unless we immediately admit defeat and sign some agreements recognizing Iran's sovereignty, recognizing that they can do whatever they want, recognize that they control the Strait of Hormuz. The Strait of Hormuz is not opening anytime soon. That's the primary lever of that Iran is using to fight back, is the Strait of Hormuz being closed. It was not a goal or an objective of this war initially to control the Strait of Hormuz, but now it's basically the main objective, although we may not follow through with it. We've kind of indicated that we might leave before the strait's open for business with Iran still in control. We might leave it to our so-called allies, who all probably hate us, given what Trump's been saying about them. So here we are, day 30. Reports. So what happened over the weekend? Israel and America hit a heavy water site, part of the nuclear power structure for Iran. Apparently, it's really badly damaged. Hit all three. I think there are only three major steel factories, which are part of Iran's way to be okay, even with sanctions against them. Those were the major escalations. And apparently the Iranians claim that we've also been bombing a number of civilian homes and stuff, apartment buildings and so forth. That's the claim. The bombing campaign seems to have escalated over the weekend from our side. Iran threatened to hit back at steel production facilities and other infrastructure plays in their Gulf neighbors and also in Israel. So far, I told you guys the last show we signed off, we said, let's see if Iran can follow through on its threats. That seems to be super important. Let's see if Iran can actually follow through on their threats, because that's going to be important for whether we decide to go forward with things like a ground invasion and so forth. Also, the Houthis joined. The Houthis joined as of the last time I broadcast. They had just joined the campaign. They're shooting missiles and drones at Israel so far. And apparently they have threatened to close the strait that they're right next to. That would close down shipping from the Red Sea, which would result in another 12% of global transportation being shut down, which would be catastrophic. I mean, probably for the price of oil and for stocks and stuff. Many claim that the damage has already been done, and that even if we opened up the Strait of Hormuz tomorrow, today, whatever, that it will take a long period of time, anywhere from months to years, to get back to where we were at the beginning of the war, meaning that people who are hoping to see the price of oil go back down to where it was, which was around $60 a barrel. It was very cheap before, not just before the war, but while we were getting ready to go to war. The price went up before we went to war in anticipation of it. And then it's gone up quite a bit since then too. We're going to check in. Markets did open. Oil is higher. Stocks are lower, but it's not crazy. It's not looking like a setup for a total panic limit down situation tomorrow. But it still could see a significant we could still see a significant rise in oil and a significant decline in stocks. The last 2 days of trading were the worst since the war started, as reality begins to dawn on people, at least the reality which I've been postulating here on this show, which almost since my first episode, I said that Iran is winning the war, which is a very controversial point of view to take as an American during a war. And you'll see if you're on X, Twitter, that if you take the position that we shouldn't be in the war, that was a mistake, that Iran is winning, especially, people will react in kind of visceral ways. And this is typical during wars, that if you suggest that we shouldn't be there, that we should get out, that the other side is actually winning, any of those things, people will react to you in a way that you're being anti-American, or that you hate our soldiers, for example, just like what happened during the Vietnam War, and pretty much any war that we've gotten into. Critics of the war will say you're being anti-American. And I do feel that way a little bit, because I actually bet against America in a way, against the American stock market. But anybody who does that is kind of hoping for American failure in a way. So it is kind of true that if you're shorting stocks, if you're long oil, whatever, you're kind of hoping for things to go badly in a way. It's kind of true. But it's also not kind of true if you just point out that we shouldn't have done it. That's not being anti-American, and people will treat it that way. So far, they still are treating it that way. So far, Trump still has the support of so-called MAGA Republicans. So far, And but I'm curious how much. I'm curious what it will take. That support is bleeding slowly so far. Slowly so far. Over the weekend, the biggest report, the reason people thought stocks might crash today, tomorrow, is that the Washington Post reported that sources of the Pentagon are telling them that they've drawn up plans for a boots on the ground, for an invasion of some sort, which will last weeks to months. So I think they said, most people said it's supposed to be for a couple of weeks. But one person said it could be months. JD Vance is out saying month, 2 months, etc. And I think things start getting really sketchy for the administration as soon as there are boots on the ground of any kind. And definitely after 2 weeks from now. If we go beyond the 6 weeks, and if it's clear at about the 6-week mark that gas is even more expensive than it is today, which it would be, and that it's not going down anytime soon, and maybe stocks are down significantly more, that's when people really start to stop supporting Trump even more. Even so-called MAGA Republicans who voted for him because they wanted him to bring prices down, right? I mean, that was the thing. And right now, the price of everything, absent a depression, which I think is possible, but absent a recession or a depression, prices are definitely going up. Prices are definitely going up, and that's what the bond market is pricing in, is much higher inflation. So given that everybody, even though people can convince themselves that they didn't vote for him to not get involved in the Middle East and that we really needed to go after Iran, it's all going to be worth it. I think they're not going to be that happy paying another $1 a gallon more for gas a month from now, which is very likely, in my opinion. We could see 50 cents this week, depending on the way oil goes. So it's going to be slowly bleeding. And then eventually, the red line, like I said, for a lot of people is boots on the ground, which are apparently much, much more probable very soon. Like, the odds just went up significantly that we're going to be in there before the end of this month. And that's in 2 days. So, when that happens, that's when things get serious for a lot of people. Because like I said, a lot of people happy to have this go on, happy for it to be 4 to 6 weeks, okay paying what we're paying now for gas, which still isn't as much as we paid during the Biden administration. I don't think. Still not quite there, but it's getting there. I think people are ready. The people who support Trump, at least, the people who really support Trump, like the so-called self-identified MAGA supporters, of which there are a significant amount, I think they're willing to pay higher gas prices around where they are now, etc., if we accomplish our goals. No nuclear bombs, ballistic missile program screwed up, Navy and Air Force were never the original goals, as much as they want to pretend those were the original objectives. They never mentioned destroying the Navy as an objective early on. Now, destroying the Navy was apparently an objective, which makes no difference whatsoever. And regime change already is thrown out too. So basically, it's nuclear ballistic. If we really have, if people can convince themselves that Iran really is never going to get a nuclear bomb based on what we've done, then I think people will be okay with it if it's over in about 2 weeks. But I don't see, personally, I don't see any way it's going to be over in 2 weeks. I don't see how it's possible, but who knows? Taco, whatever, we'll see. I mean, we'll see. So thanks, question everything twice. Now, New Zealand dollars says you literally have the only sensible and nuanced analysis of the war I've seen anywhere. Appreciate you. Thank you, question everything twice. I think there are plenty of other people. The Glenn Greenwald is out there. I mean, even Matt Walsh and some other people are out there saying there's lots of analysis out there that it's not going well. Who else? Ann Coulter is out there right now already. I mean, there are plenty of critics of the war. I'm looking at it from a few different angles, but I appreciate that question everything twice. I appreciate that you tune in here. and everybody else too. I have very few comments. Some people hang in. Most people self-select. We've already gotten rid of the hardcore Trump supporters for the most part. They no longer tune into the show. There are a few who insist on commenting under my videos that I've completely lost the plot, or that they can't stand me criticizing Trump, or that I'm always saying the market's about to crash, which is kind of true. Or the one guy who says that I'm having like a mental episode and I'm down some kind of rabbit hole. But that's okay. If I'm correct, that will be profitable in and of itself. So it's no big deal. But thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Yeah, we've already kind of lost the hardcore Trump supporters who believe what he's saying. And it's a lot of lies and a lot of insanity. So that's where we're at. Let's check the market. Okay. Let's see where we're at. I just checked it. It opened 30 minutes ago. And if that's correct, then it's not that crazy. Black Monday is probably a hyperbolic title, which I knew it might be, actually. I didn't really expect tomorrow to be the day. But if we invade, it could be. Or if Iran hits something, it could be. So let's see. We might keep the title. We might change the title. Oil is only up 3%. So far, crude oil is over $100. That was kind of the line in the sand. Some people speculated that the U.S. Treasury and the jawboning from Donald Trump was specifically to keep the price under $100 for as long as possible, which they succeeded in doing. But it did gap up. It is over 102. It is up 3% from the last time it closed. If it follows the trend of the last few days, it's going to be up 5% or 6% or more by the end of trading tomorrow. So it's just been steadily good. There has been really no panic so far in either stocks or oil. There was one day in oil when it hit like 120 and then immediately came back down after Trump said something. Like immediately he said, "Oh, I'm leaving soon," or "The war is going to be over soon." It was very early on. The long term, let me just show you like the 1 month chart. You can see this day here early on, like very early on, about 8 days into the campaign, the price opened on a Monday, I believe. I believe it opened on oh no, it wasn't even on. Yeah. It was on a Monday, I think. The price went up to 125 bucks, but the same day it came down, and then Trump said something at the end of the day. He was like, I can't remember what it was. I opened up a call option on oil, and then Trump said something like 5 minutes later, and I lost like $800 in like 5 minutes, and I sold it stupidly, kind of thinking maybe he was telling the truth for some reason. Well, anyway, that kind of thing, you can see, held the line since the beginning of the war at 100, and now we're over that. So we've broken out of that range. And for the last few days, it's been going up about 5% every day. I think it went up 7% on Friday. And this tells me that in a month, the price of oil has gone up 52% so far. 52%. The price of gas nationwide is up over $1 a gallon so far. I always watch the price and look at the gas stations. The last week, gas didn't go up for me anywhere, but it's still expensive. Some of the local gas stations here are over $6 for gas. Even the cheap station is about $7.25 for diesel. And of course, all of our goods are delivered on trucks. So when I say prices are going to go up, barring a deep recession or depression, prices have to go up. And it's not just oil, it's also going to be food, because there are many, many things that are affected by the closing of the Strait of Hormuz. Food in particular, because of fertilizer, urea, which I guess like 50% of urea comes out of that comes through that strait. We're going to have problems with microchips shortly because of helium. And this is why people say, even if everything's fixed, so even if the taco happens, the strait fully opens tomorrow, a bunch of things are fucked up that can't be fixed tomorrow, that won't be fixed for a long time, like the production of, I think, helium, and like the Qatar natural gas field that got taken out. Several of those things might take months to years to get back to normal. So like I said, if things end once oil hits 150, let's say, and the Strait of Hormuz opens, which I don't think it's going to maybe ever again, then people are saying, well, then oil will still be over $100 for a long, long extended period of time because of the damage that's already been done. So many people are saying that right now. So Cygirl says, I really want to know if the desalination plants have been targeted or whether that's just more scary propaganda. I think Iran has not said officially that they're doing that yet. That's something they're still holding in their pocket. I was very intent on whether Iran could follow through on their threats, because I think the threat to hit desalination plants was if we hit their power facilities, like Trump said. And that's what made Trump taco on the attack on the power facilities, was that he knows that if they hit desalination plants, that the Middle East is totally screwed, because there's no water there in those Arab countries like Saudi Arabia and the UAE in particular, some of which get like 99% of their water from desalination plants. Iran apparently has rivers and stuff, so they're better off. There's no way to completely take their water offline, which is good news. But yeah, Iran was successful in that they hit an aluminum production facility, I believe, in the UAE. They hit a military base this weekend and destroyed a very important airplane, an AWACS E3, I think it's called. Some kind of super important plane that's like $70 million. And we don't make anymore. And there's like 16 of them that total. They hit a super important radar plane, which apparently is responsible for like tracking missiles, tracking drones, tracking troop movement, all that stuff. They hit a super important plane, and today they hit a pharmaceutical plant in Israel. So that's good enough evidence to me that they are able to follow through on their threats, that and they still have time to do more damage. They have not hit any steel plants like they threatened to, and they do lie about stuff. They said, I think Iran said this weekend they hit a bunch of troops on ships getting ready to invade. They said they sunk a number of ships and killed hundreds of soldiers. I think we would have to admit it if they had killed a bunch of soldiers, I think, although I don't know. So they are still lying. Iran also. So you can't take everything they say, I don't think, seriously. But they did say they did something that I don't think they did, but who knows? I think the United States is lying too. So, but that plane, like the United States said that plane was damaged, and there's pictures of it. It was basically destroyed. Super important airplane. And we injured 10 to 12 soldiers, 2 of them critically. Iran, on this attack on this base, injured a number of soldiers, 2 of them really badly, either 10 or a dozen. So let's see. Question everything twice. I live next to a port in thank you for the $10 New Zealand super chat. I live next to a port in New Zealand, and a huge fertilizer ship was paid by someone in the US to leave in the middle of the night before it was unloaded and go there. Fertilizer is the new gold. Really? Yeah, I've heard of some things being diverted. I've heard of LNG ships that were supposed to go to Europe that were diverted to Asia. And so far, Europe still had to pay for them. They can't get their money back. Yeah, fertilizer is serious. Urea from the Strait of Hormuz, and ammonium nitrate from Russia. And Russia shut down. They forbid export of ammonium nitrate for at least a month, I think. And urea is apparently totally shut down. It's a byproduct of petroleum somehow, and so is helium, I guess, somehow. I guess, and plastics and stuff. Those are all made from, like, all these things happen. Petroleum is very important, apparently. So the price of a lot of things are going to go up, like even plastic stuff. I mean, whatever. The only way prices won't go up is if we have a really bad recession and what they call demand destruction, where the price of gas will still go up, but people will not pay more for things. They just won't buy things because they'll be so poor. That's the only way prices don't go up. So far, the markets aren't pricing at a depression, recession. They're just saying the economy will continue as it is and prices will go up, but prices will go up, assuming all things stay the same. We know that everything is delivered with diesel fuel. So imagine Dollar Store might have to raise their prices, and energy inflation affects poor people the most. That's the other bad thing about it. So the people that were already the worst off before this war started, the bottom 80% in this K-shaped economy, are the ones who will be affected the most from higher energy prices. So that's crude oil we're looking at, which has gone up, I think, since I started looking at it. Yeah, it's still going up. 102.58 for U.S. crude. I don't get the real number for Brent, but this is American West Texas Intermediate. So let's see what the stock market is doing. Thanks, Shaft. Says, have a cupcake. I think they closed my favorite cupcake place, and they don't have one near here. I had donuts this morning. I'm very frugal now. I buy frozen espresso, $2 a shot, mix it with my own milk for iced lattes. I don't get donuts or cookies during the week, at least. And I eat eggs, bread, and spaghetti with meat sauce every day. It's very cheap. I shop at Costco. I'm very frugal right now because I make almost zero from my employment so far. But I think they closed my favorite cupcake place. So, but I had nice donuts this morning, but they were still expensive. 2 donuts, they're fancy, $8 plus tip, plus one. I tipped $1 too. I don't know why. But I had some this morning because it's Sunday. But otherwise, I eat peanut butter and jelly on one piece of toast, 2 eggs and a piece of toast for lunch, and then spaghetti with meat sauce. And I buy everything at Costco, Target, and Vons. And then I order frozen coffees, which $2 a shot is still not cheap, but it's a lot cheaper than what I was spending. So I've pared things down. And then I sit outside waiting for a delivery notification, which I often don't get at all for days at a time. And I'm making about $50 a week, I think, but hopefully things will get better. If the economy crashes, I don't know. So far, stocks are not that bad. Off about 0.5%. So Black Monday, probably a little bit of a hyperbolic title, unless we invade tomorrow or something, when things could get really bad, or unless Iran hits something super important. So far, everything's steady. But this is how things started the last few days. And basically just people are not panicking, but constantly selling. And the market has closed at the low of the day every day for the last 2 or 3 days. So if that continues, we could be down another 2% or more by the time things are closed tomorrow, which means that the market is significantly down and 50,000 is long gone. We are under 45,000 right now in the Dow. Everybody can remember Pam Bondi calling the top of the market. The Dow is over 50K. The Dow is now under 45K. She said the S&P hit 7,000. The S&P is now at 6,300. But assuming things continue the way they're going, then it's only going to get worse from here. I saw somebody say the markets might go down 90%. I was like, I'm kind of betting on like 20%, but I've already gotten 5% from where I made my bets, but we'll see. Some people are really doomers. We'll see. All right, so that's the news. That's the news on the financial side of things. We'll continue to watch it. More propaganda videos. So I'll play you all the Lego videos, and I'll play you the stuff Trump said. I'll play you what some of the other people are saying. I'll show you the pizza indicator. I'll show you all this stuff. All right, so thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you guys, and we will play the intro and get started. Thank you. Okay, cue musical intro. Boy, that's brilliant. I do think some things in the world are real. Like you guys. You guys are real. Most of you. Most of my listeners, I think, are not just in my head. I think I have the metrics to prove it. You've taken a leap of faith today. What is that sound? And I apologize if you take offense. I'm a little offended myself. Welcome to our show. Welcome to the future. What it is, joining you live from sunny California. It's a beautiful day today. I'm your host, Nathan Stoltman, and I bring you the news, the real news.
How about a cowboy ready to start the attack?
Yes, I've been waiting for a long time.
Well, start.
بیا نزدیکتر.
me Trump!
That's it? Oh, okay, that's all one. Did that say you killed me, Trump? Someone says like claymation. Lego videos. They're just pumping them out. I mean, 2, 3 a day. We better step up our game significantly, because I wouldn't be surprised if we're trying to find the guy that makes these videos and take him out, so that they don't keep making these effective propaganda videos. And then other people say, oh, if you're spreading these propaganda videos, you're un-American. But I think they're fantastic, to be honest. Anyway, if I were Iranian, I would like them, even though they're in English, so they're clearly designed for us. Let's see. This is another one. Oh, Iranians say that their philosophy, thousands of years, is that they fight for the effect. So there are a number of people, like there's Malcolm X. They claim they're fighting this war for all of America's victims. Even bring up Malcolm X, American Indians. Vietnam, Europe, Gaza. So they are trying to say that they're fighting on behalf of all of America's victims. Vietnam War. They seem to have a particular affinity for Malcolm X. I don't know why. I guess because he got killed. I don't know why not MLK. He got killed too. But they really like Malcolm X. Oh, he was Islamic. That's why. Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. All of the victims of America they're fighting for. They showed the destruction of the US dollar, which they're trying to do by killing the petrodollar, by selling oil in yuan. They showed, I think, the destruction of, they always have Baal in there, like we worship Baal, which is funny. All right, here's another, a whole nother video, and this is for the children of that school. So here, oh, and then there's another one after this. There's Paul. There you go. So there's that one. And then I have one more. This is apparently an explainer video. Check this one out.
They came to the border, 2 against 1, talking about peace with the sound of guns. They pushed him back, they thought it was done, walked away thinking they already won. He stood back up, walked to the water, not as a soldier, not as a bomber. He looked at the world and closed the gate. Now every country has to wait. Ships in line where nations wait. Energy crisis, high inflation rate. Europe nervous, Middle East stuck, Asia silent, America out of luck. Then one man skipped the line, didn't argue, didn't fight. Why you argue? I make deals, trade routes open, business sealed, and far away from all the fight. Someone sleeping every night. Oil going up, money pile high. He just smiled, didn't even try. Some fight wars, some control trade, some build deals, but some life fade.
Sean Stingray says, do you think the Iranian leaders assume all Americans want them dead? No, I think they're very astute. They've said their war is not against the American people. And they they saw the No Kings protest, and they assume all of those people are on their side. They promoted the No Kings protest recently. So, and basically Democrats pretty much are all against the war. So, no, I think they've said their fight isn't against the American people. Why it's always Lego? I think it's because they've been so successful. I don't know. It's good. They write these hip hop things are good too. I mean, geez. They showed Vladimir Putin counting money. They showed that Chinese ships can get through. They show that that's their means of warfare. So here's what we're doing for our memes based on Trump saying this. Trump said this the other day. He's so what do you guys think is going on with Donald Trump? Is he being poorly advised? I believe Susie Wiles may have said in one of her interviews that they know not to ever give Trump any bad information. So like they had the report about how he gets a highlight reel at the beginning of every day that shows successful bombings, that stuff blowing up, they described it as, that he really likes that. And they thinks the war is going really well. And maybe nobody's telling him different. Maybe nobody's telling him about the polling, but he's usually tuned into that. I don't know how he keeps up such a good face. Like, I don't know how he doesn't show more frustration at how badly things are going, unless he really genuinely thinks things are going well, which, again, either he's being advised very badly or he's just lying all the time and he knows things aren't going well, which I don't know exactly which one it is. He certainly is lying all the time. And a lot of it is to keep markets under control, to drive down the price of oil and stuff. But now people don't believe it anymore. So anyway, here he is. Talking about the Strait of Hormuz.
They have to open up the Strait of Hormuz. Excuse me. I'm so sorry. Such a terrible mistake. The fake news will say he accidentally said, no, there's no accidents with me, not too many. They have to open up the Strait of Hormuz.
There's somebody who's left. Hey, Deborah, thanks for tuning in. I voted for Trump. Like I said, I still don't really regret it. I didn't have a good choice. I regret voting at all. Not that it mattered. I'm in California. But giving my consent, so-called, to what this regime, I do kind of regret. But I wouldn't have voted for Kamala. I don't know. It would have. I don't know if she would have gone to war with Iran. The destruction of the United States economy I saw as inevitable. He's just doing it faster, and it's going to be worse. TDS. No, I don't think I've ever shown TDS, but people have accused me of that. I really don't like him at all. I didn't after his first term. So I didn't vote for him for his second term, but I voted for him in 2024. I liked what he said. No wars, bring down inflation, etc. But I don't like tariffs. And I think this war is going very badly. Deborah, what is your timeline, Deborah? Like, when will you change your mind? If you want to answer, if you're still tuned in. What is your timeline? Like, how long do you give him before you change your mind? 2 weeks? A month? Like, how long do you want to give him? How high can gas go for you? Might go up 50 cents this week. Is that okay? Just let me know. Like, if you're open to change your mind, that's all. Because I think a lot of people will change their mind. Or like boots on the ground. Do you have a problem with that? Because there is another form of TDS, which is people that just support Trump no matter what he does, even if it's not what he campaigned on. But if you have a line in the sand, let me know. So anyway, there he is saying the Strait of Trump, as well, we'll see. Anyway, so our meme response. So this is our brilliant meme. The White House in Arabic put this out. And it says, laughing emoji, Trump straight.
And I see this. It's so incredible. Ding, 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 ding. Okay. And I see this.
Carl Schwartz says Venezuela is trading in dollars again. Well, I think the operation in Venezuela was actually really, I said it at the time, that the fact that it went so well, for what we were planning to do was bad, because it gave Trump the idea that he could do it again and again and again. And then he threatened Greenland, which he did 100% taco from, and we didn't get any part of Greenland. And then it led him to believe that this operation would be over super fast, and that would be just like Venezuela. He brings it up on occasion too. I believe Venezuela I don't know that Venezuela wasn't transacting in dollars before we abducted Maduro. We do have some extra oil that we profit from, our government, although Americans don't really see the benefit from it too much, from Venezuela. In a decade or more, if oil companies decide it's safe to go into Venezuela, we may see more oil production from Venezuela. That's true. Venezuela is not selling to Cuba or giving oil to Cuba anymore, which apparently is one of our objectives, and not to China anymore. So if you see that as good, then that's good. I recognize Venezuela, but I actually don't know that they weren't already trading in dollars. So, and it's not that much oil compared to what goes through the strait. It's just not that much. So if you think it benefited us, though, you think they were selling in yuan mostly? Okay, well, that's good. If you want us to control oil in order to control the world, that's good, which is what we've tried to do for a long time. So I guess that's positive for the petrodollar. Sure. That's okay. But it's not that much oil. compared to what goes through the Strait. Not even a little bit. Doesn't affect anything really. Like you might have noticed, the price of oil didn't really like go down or anything because we took over Venezuela. But sure, I'll say that as far as a military operation, that was successful. But I think that only led Trump to believe that this military operation would be as easy, which was problematic because he didn't anticipate things that were obvious, like that they would close the Strait of Hormuz and that they would start attacking their neighbors. And he said as much. So it has no plan right now for how to fix either of those things. But taking over Venezuela, was that good for America? We make a little bit more money, I guess. Our oil companies may decide to go in there eventually. And like I said, maybe 10 years from now, we'll see something out of it. Maybe. Maybe. But so far, nobody's opened up new investments or anything there. So anyway, that's our propaganda. That's our response to the Lego propaganda. Okay. Speaking of Cuba, a big Russian oil tanker was just allowed to deliver a bunch of oil to Cuba. So apparently we did not, we have a blockade on Cuba, which is destroying their country, which apparently we just allowed a Russian tanker through. I believe it was escorted by a Russian naval ship. So apparently we decided to let that one through. So if that continues, then Cuba can stay. The only reason Cuba wants to surrender to the United States is because we've totally blockaded them and we're starving their people and depriving them of electricity and everything else. But if Russia can continue to deliver to them, then they might be okay for a while longer. It does make Europe depend on us more for energy. Carl Swart. It does make Europe depend more on us for energy, but they're not going to appreciate that much. And it's not going to help us here in America, where the price will be like, since it's an international market, if everybody else is paying more for us to ship our stuff to them, then we have to pay more to keep it here. So it's not that great. But sure, it's true. We're lucky compared to a lot of other countries. We make a lot of oil and gas. And yeah, they're going to have to depend on us more, but that doesn't help Americans because the more we ship overseas, the more expensive it gets for us. So, which is why it's ironic when Trump says we don't need the Strait of Hormuz. Let's see. Let's show you guys some of the indicators. The pizza index is exploding. So Polymarket is saying the pizza index is exploding. Gay bars are empty. And a bunch of people just bet money that we're going to invade by the 31st. The odds that we invade just totally skyrocketed. Let's see if I can. Let's see. Sometimes the Polymarket website doesn't work for me. Let's see what they're up to. Oh, yeah, it's right here. Oh, apparently that was a very temporary spike. Very temporary. March 31st. Oh, but actually, no, it's gone. So the March 31st invasion, I think, is the one that they were referring to. March 31st. Can I see the chart, please? Hold on. Let me see. Share this tab. I can't see the chart for March 31st, but the chances we invade by April 30th or December 31st are way up, over 70% now. that we invade before the end of next month, but only 12%. How can I see? Only 12% chance that we invade before the next 2 days, March 31st. But apparently those odds had really spiked. Yeah, this was March 31st, just before my show started. Less than an hour ago, those odds jumped to 44% for March 31st. That's what this chart shows. But obviously they immediately came back down. Interesting. So anyway, some people are predicting before the end of the month, but here are some, let's see. All right, let's play you some videos. Here's some great predictions from the people who talked us into this war. We're going to play you Mark 11 from the people who cheerleaded for this war and their predictions as compared to my predictions, I guess. I predict Strait of Hormuz closed indefinitely, at least until, I don't know, June. I mean, as far as like Iran controlling the Strait of Hormuz, I don't see that ending indefinitely. I don't see any U.S. plans that seem feasible that will end Iranian control of the Strait of Hormuz anytime soon, which again, if it doesn't happen, then markets collapse and Iran wins. Here's Dave Rubin, though, Jewish person. MAGA, like all MAGA that's left is like Jewish people pretty much, and like idiots. Here's Dave Rubin predicting what would happen if we started a war against Iran. People are bringing this up.
So allow me to make a prediction here in my prediction stuff. I'm not polymarket, I'm not call sheep, but I'm pretty good at predictions. And my prediction here is that everything that the media is now going to say about Iran's going to close the Strait of Hormuz and energy prices are going to go crazy and all these, none of this is going to come to pass. That isn't to say there won't be a little bumps here and there in the market. And it's not to say one random thing, bad thing might happen to a ship or something like that. But Iran has basically, their military has basically been decimated. So they can keep doing PR stunts and having the second general of the 4th command of the 3rd wing of the Iranian army show up on MSNBC. They can keep do that and make his threats and say, we're going to let things through if we like you and not if we don't. But it just is utterly irrelevant. We are the sheriff. So allow me to make a prediction here in my prediction.
Pretty good, right? Oh, pretty good prediction, Dave. Good job. Oh, they'll make threats and they'll say, we'll let people well, it's exactly what they're doing now with no end in sight. All right. Trump seems to be, if he knew what the content of Mark Levin's show was going to be, he had on another Jewish person who was a speechwriter for Donald Rumsfeld and then George W. Bush during the Iraq War, who is the son-in-law of some neocon journalist or analyst who pushed the Iraq War. Trump, before this show went to air, specifically promoted the Mark Levin show with his guest. And specifically on this show, they advocated for troops in Iran. Boots on the ground is such a stupid thing to say, but anyway, advocated for boots on the ground. So if Trump knew exactly what they were going to say, specifically put out a Truth Social post. He doesn't promote shows, specific shows, unless he's going to be on them, I don't think, most of the time. He specifically promoted this show hours before it aired. And on this show specifically was a guest who said it's going amazing, and also that Iran is affiliated with Al-Qaeda and is going to work with Al-Qaeda to do dirty bombs on us and terrorist attacks. Said it's going to be the greatest military operation since the revolution against the British. Mark Levin made a case for boots on the ground. So if it was all done intentionally, which we hope, which we'll assume, I guess it was, then Trump is running his campaign to tell people that there are going to be boots on the ground, that they're needed through podcasts, rather than saying it himself. So here's Mark Levin explaining why we need boots on the ground.
Troops on the ground. He said no troops on the ground. I don't remember that in any campaign speech either. But why would we need troops on the ground? Well, there's a lot of reasons, and we wouldn't need 300,000 of them. It's this uranium, too. We've got to get the uranium. If it cannot be destroyed, if it cannot be altered, we got to get it. For the reason I just said. You can make dirty bombs, and over time you can still make sophisticated missiles. So you need to get to the uranium. That's why I'm reading in the paper, we're talking about the 82nd Airborne, we're talking about these various special forces and the various military services and so forth. He's not talking about sending regular army and infantry in by the hundreds of thousands. The men he's talking about, the units he's talking about, they are specialized. And you know what else? I remember from my days in the Reagan administration. Many of them are trained for a moment like this to try and secure enriched uranium. Many have been trained for moments like this.
Okay. Few different things. First of all, in the negotiations leading up to the invasion, which I remind you, the Strait of Hormuz was open before we invaded fully with no toll system or anything. Iran had agreed to dilute the 60% enriched uranium as part of the deal. They had already agreed to it, and they'd already agreed to never make a nuclear weapon. They'd already agreed to that. So, and the proposal for peace, for a ceasefire, is just that they turn over the 60%, she calls it dust. I think it's gas. But that stuff is buried so deep under the rubble that they would need huge Caterpillar machines, I assume, to actually get, like, the Iranians can't even get to it right now. And probably if they tried to get to it, we'd bomb them or something. The Iranians haven't even accessed it. It's not easy to get. It's way buried deep under rubble from the 12-day war beneath that nuclear facility. So it's not an easy operation where SEALs or something just come in and grab this 1,000 pounds of enriched uranium gas. They'd have to somehow have big digging machines, I guess, and get down below some rubble and find it, which would probably take some time. But anyway, that's the reason people think there are going to be boots on the ground is it seems to be being telegraphed. It seems to be. Marco Rubio, I'm still skeptical. I still don't know if it's 70% or not. Marco Rubio specifically said just a few days ago that we're going to do it without boots on the ground. And he's, Secretary of State and stuff. And I just am not sure Trump can deal with the losses that we'll take, because Trump genuinely doesn't want there to be casualties. Like, he genuinely knows that that's bad for him politically, but not just politically. It's just like he says he doesn't like death and stuff, particularly Americans. I genuinely believe that. So I think he's going to have difficulty, at least struggling with the idea, which I'm sure his generals are telling him, which is that if we send in boots on the ground, we will suffer heavy casualties. And by heavy, it just depends on how many troops we send in, but whatever, some high percentage of people will die who go into Iran. And there's nothing we can do about it. I assume he's being advised of that. So I don't know if he's going to go in or not. I just don't know. But we'll see. In addition to what that'll do to his polls, which will just collapse. So anyway, that was Mark Levin explaining why we need boots on the ground. I think he also talks about, we also apparently, we're going to try to take over these islands, which is really like going into a shooting gallery. But we'll see. I mean, like the odds are that we're going to. So I'm still not going to say for sure that we are going to. That's not one of my predictions. I'm not saying it's definite. I think it's still uncertain whether Trump decides to go through with it because he'll be worried about the consequences. But all right, if we go in, Israeli news just before the show started says that Israeli troops will not take part. Shocking. If we decide to go in, the Israeli troops who we're doing this war for are not coming with us. So that was just reported. Big surprise. As far as news that soldiers are deploying, there are lots of stories that soldiers are deploying right now in massive numbers for the Middle East. We're definitely sending troops. So, I believe it's to be threatening. I believe it's to be threatening at first. So Iran knows that we might send troops in, and it's supposed to put pressure on them. That's what I believe right now, is that we're sending troops to put pressure on the Iranians because we think they're going to be scared. I think so far. And to have the option, of course, of doing troops so far. But we're sending a bunch of troops here. Here's somebody on Facebook saying they're selling everything in their house because they're about to be deployed. So turning in home, last minute deployment sale. Almost everything is OBO, needs to be gone today. And this is in Jacksonville. Maybe even the truck is for sale. So there's somebody who's being deployed. Some people are saying it's going to be a long-term deployment too. So that's somebody. What are the other indications? There's a stripper. There's this letter that went out to all of our reservists, our Marine reservists. A letter was sent out on the 26th of March to all of the reservists saying that they better be ready to leave at any time. Basically, things like, do you have your affairs in order? Are your bags packed? It says, I ask you directly, are you truly ready to deploy, fight, and win? Are your skills sharp, your standards high, and your gear prepared for immediate movement? This was sent to all Marine reservists, that they better be ready to immediately deploy. That was sent out March 26th. There's a stripper. The stripper index is always good. Stripper saying that she lives near a base, and I'll give you her news.
So I work at a strip club next to several military bases, and something I have noticed lately is all the military guys are coming in and they're spending all of their money, and they're just it's sad. They're kind of depressed, and they're just coming in oh yeah, we're gonna have fun. We're getting, what is it called? Deployed? We're getting deployed next week, or this is happening. I don't know. I don't want to spread misinformation or anything, but it's just a lot of them are really kind, and to see these young guys that look like my pinky toe, they're like fetuses coming in, and then dancing with them, and then being bye, and then it's actually making me emotional. Like, it's fucked up.
Okay, so there you go. The stripper index says we're deploying. All the guys are spending all their money at strip clubs, getting ready to deploy. All right, I'll give you what Trump is saying. Oops. Okay, that didn't go away. Give you what Trump is saying. Dang. There, I'm back. Oh, my internet is sketchy. All right, here's Trump, some of the things he said at this financial institute. Here's one thing he said, which seems pretty revealing. Here we go.
Seeing right now. What is missing in leadership?
Well, it's winning. You got to win. You know, I've watched a lot of people, leaders, great leaders. And, you know, the one thing about sports is you break it down into, you know, a 2-hour period, something nice. You don't have to wait a lifetime to find out is somebody a winner or a loser. You got a lot of losers, mostly losers, fortunately. It's a good thing to have a lot of losers. I always like to hang around with losers, actually, because it makes me feel better. I hate guys that are very, very successful and you have to listen to their success stories. I like people that like to listen to my success.
Seeing right now.
He likes hanging around with losers. That's good. That's a good sign. Usually people who are successful like hanging out with people who are more successful than them so that they get ideas for how to be more successful. But he just wants people to tell him how great he is, pretty much. Here he is talking about the war, just kind of like, you know, in his usual way, like it's a video game.
You have to see it. It's very cool. Missiles launched, missiles launched, missiles launching. They're launching. Okay, we're ready. 101 missiles coming at them. All right, we have to have like 11 seconds to make a determination. Then at 7 seconds, fire, fire, fire. It's the most unbelievable thing. Fire, boom, fire, boom. One at a time, just knocked them out like they were nothing. Genius. It's like unbelievable.
There you go.
You have to.
Genius. So I think that's probably from the videos he's being shown that show all the bombing. The bombing, the bombing, the bombing. We've bombed a lot of stuff. We've hit a lot of targets. But they still fire missiles every day. Him talking about the Nobel Peace Prize, I'll skip that one. Here he is talking about how world leaders need to kiss his ass. That's probably one of the only people who supports this war is Saudi Arabia, who wants it to continue. There you go.
Happen. He didn't think he'd be kissing my ass. He really didn't. He thought he'd be just another American president that was a loser, where the country was going downhill. But now he has to be nice to me. You tell him he better be nice to me. He's got to be. But it was really something. He said, though, he said, you know, it's amazing, President, because he's a very smart, but a regular kind of a guy. He said, you know, it's amazing, President. A year ago, in that case, it was a year and a half. It was 6 months ago. But a year ago, you were a dead country. Now you're literally the hottest country anywhere in the world. And that was before we beat the hell out of Iran.
There you go. Anyway, that's about the Crown Prince saying he has to kiss his ass now. All right, so there's that. There, he surrounds himself. He basically, if you haven't noticed, like whenever he has a meeting with all the people from his administration, it's just a festival of how people can kiss his ass the most. And that's what it takes to be successful in the Trump administration, is to just like say whatever outlandish, wonderful things you can say about how great Donald Trump is. So here's RFK doing it. And a lot of people are like, a lot of people are very skeptical, I guess, about this story. So here's RFK Jr. saying how smart Trump is.
He has encyclopedic molecular knowledge on this wide range of very, very eclectic interests. Music, Broadway shows, pro wrestling,
Yes.
football, every sport, golf, and business and Wall Street. He knows how everybody made their money and what deals they made. And he tells stories all the time about it. It's just one after the other. And one time during the campaign, I was on the airplane with him, and we were sitting across the table from each other eating McDonald's, and drinking Diet Coke. And we started talking about Syria, and he got a placemat, and he turned it on its back, and then he took a Sharpie and he drew a perfect map of the Mideast. And then he put the troop strength of every country on every border on that map. And it just, it challenged a lot of the assumptions that I had been told about him. He has, he has this extraordinary depth of knowledge about what's happening in each one of the agencies, my agency and the others. And, and then he has an instinct for making good choices.
Well, I have to say,
He does have good instinct. I don't know. He does have good instincts. He's not dumb. I agree with that. He was overconfident and underprepared for Iran, for what was going to happen, which was from what was obvious was going to happen in Iran. And if anything, Iran is doing even better than it was obvious they were going to do. But anyway, a lot of people are saying that story must be made up. Ted Cruz promoting the war. Saying we're about to have new governments in Venezuela, Cuba, and Iran. I don't care. That's all right. Here's JD Vance. People say he's kind of indicating that this might last 1 or 2 years. So here's JD Vance. The story is, to keep markets settled, the story is, it's going to end soon. This is the official story. It has to be from every administration official. It's going to end soon. Things will go back to normal immediately. It's going to end soon. Gas prices will go down immediately, back to where they were and below immediately. That has to be the sign. Otherwise, markets will panic. If he says, oh, it's going to be, even if he were to come out and say it's going to be a couple months, if he actually came out and said that he thinks it's going to be a couple months, even that would be really bad if Trump said that. Because markets know that the Strait of Hormuz thing can't go on much longer or everyone's fucked and we're going to be in a Great Depression. So, like, everybody knows. So far, the bet is on taco, which means Strait of Hormuz open again. Trump makes a deal. He's a deal maker. So anyway, here's JD Vance pitching it.
We need to neuter them for a very, very long time, and that's the purpose. You're right. Gas prices have certainly gone up because of what's going on in the Middle East, but they're going to come down, right? This is a very, very temporary reaction to what is going to ultimately be a short-term conflict. I think the president's been very clear about this, that we're not interested in being in Iran a year down the road, 2 years down the road. We're taking care of business. We're going to be out of there soon, and gas prices are going to come back down. We need to neuter them.
That's the official story. But the fact that he said a year or 2 years already made people nervous. So anyway, there's that. The Economist is pointing out, or let's see, hold on. Bloomberg is saying that U.S. government officials and Wall Street analysts are starting to consider the prospect that oil might get to $200 a barrel. Starting to consider. So Bloomberg is reporting that as of 6 hours ago. U.S. government officials and Wall Street analysts are starting to consider the prospect that oil prices might surge to an unprecedented $200 a barrel, which they're only at 100 so far. So assuming 1-for-1, the price of oil would be double. Gas would be more than $10 a gallon in California. How long do you think people can? Even that's crazy. I predicted that one day it would get to be too much for the displays, because right now the displays are only good enough to go up to $9.99 and 9/10 of a cent. All of the displays in California aren't ready, I don't think, for 2-digit oil prices. They'll have to move the decimal place. Anyway, so that's a prediction. Also, the Economist is report. You need to leave? Hold on one sec. Had a dog in here. Wanted to get out of the room. The Economist is reporting that Iran is making twice as much money since the war started from their oil sales. So far, Iran is doing better. So as far as like us putting economic pressure on them or anything, so far they're making more money from oil sales by a lot than before the war started. And we don't want to stop them from selling oil. We don't want to stop that, because that would make the price of oil even higher. If Iran wasn't selling oil, if the few ships that are going through the Strait of Hormuz also didn't go through, the Iranian ships, that would make the price of oil even higher. So we want every Iranian ship to get through, and we release sanctions on them too. So it's not just from the increased oil price. They used to have to sell oil at a discount to the real price because of the sanctions. And now they can sell it for full price. The price of oil has gone up 50%. So they used to have to sell it at a 25% discount. Now they can sell it for full price. The price went up 50%, and they're collecting supposedly a couple $1 million for every boat that they let through the Strait of Hormuz. And we could stop it. We could definitely do it. We could just blow up those ships like we blow up the so-called drug ships in South America, but we don't want to. So Iran is making more money than before the war started. And as the price of oil goes up, and Russia, of course. Iran and Russia are both doing better than before the war started. America is too, because we have lots of oil companies, at least American oil companies, and the taxes collected from American oil companies that go to the government, which will never get to us, but Americans are doing worse. So anyway, Iran's doing better. There are rumors that this guy got killed. He's not dead, though, apparently. There are rumors yesterday that this guy got killed, the head of the parliament. He's giving market advice. So he's actually giving market advice to Americans, saying, heads up, pre-market so-called news or truth is often just a setup for profit taking. Basically, it's a reverse indicator. Do the opposite. If they pump it, short it. If they dump it, go long. See something tomorrow, you know the drill. The things they dump are oil, which you would go long, and the things they pump are the stock market. So I actually did that last Monday. Trump pumped the stock market and I shorted it. So, and I was happy that he pumped it because I didn't believe him. That was when he said they were having productive talks. So typically that's what Trump does, though. Last time, Monday morning, before markets opened, futures were down about 1%. Trump said productive talks, ceasefire. Markets went up like 4% from where they were to where they were suddenly up 3%. And then it faded all week, basically. So if you shorted it, you made money. This is more talk about how Iranian oil revenue is up. People are all in other countries. It's already really bad. Australia is running out of fuel. That's why they reported. Philippines declared a state of emergency. There are other countries that are doing the same. People in India, everybody's trying to load up on gas now before the price goes up. Well, they're at least doing it, even if they're not worried the gas is about to run out. People are filling up their cars in an emergency fashion because they think at any moment prices could skyrocket on gas, or that it might run out. Here's someone in the United Kingdom filling up plastic bags with gas. So this is what people are doing. I guess I could fill up my car, but now I just charge my car. Now I'm running full electric. But here's...
I mean, this is just selfish. Just look at her.
Plastic bags.
Just absolute desperation. I mean, we're not going to run out of fuel, love. Oh my God.
Plastic bag.
Oh, so now she's going to go and pay.
Pretty funny. So that's already happening in the UK. And apparently gas shortages are coming to California because we get foreign oil here for some reason. So they say we're going to run out of gas here. Here's what Fox News is saying to make it seem like it's not that bad. This is pretty rich. Here, I'll play that.
Let me show you the daily average price per barrel, just to put this in a little bit of context. We see, can I get our team to put up the prices? Under Obama, they were $83.33 during his term. And under the Trump term, it's $52. Under Biden, it was $79. And then under Trump now, $65.54. So still well below what the others had on average. So that's good to put that into context for sure. But a lot of Americans concerned how high will they go, and can the president?
There you go. Average. That's good. Nobody cares, obviously, what the price of gas was 2 months ago. Obviously, people care about what the price of gas is now and what it's going to be tomorrow and what it's going to be 6 months from now. Nobody cares what the price of gas was a few months ago, which was cheap. They care about what they're paying for it now, especially since we decided, or Trump decided, to start this thing without, well, yeah, it was just a total choice. He just decided we're going to do this, and Americans are going to have to take it. But also, assuming prices stay up, which we have to assume they will, that average will rapidly increase. That average price per barrel will rapidly increase. And then by the end of his term, assuming prices stay elevated, which people are saying they will, then he'll have the highest average daily price, even though the first year was pretty cheap. Through almost nothing he actually did, but presidents can't do much to control the price of oil, usually. In this case, what Trump did really did affect the price of oil, but not the right way. Oil was probably cheap because people are poor and couldn't afford, already couldn't afford to buy it. But all right. So anyway, that's Fox News. Some footage of it's hard to know what's real. I have no idea how much we're lying about, how much they're lying about. This is just missile strikes on Israel. Anyway, Houthis are now firing at them too. And reports are that they're going to run out of interceptors really soon. And then it's just a free for all in terms of missiles hitting Israel, assuming they do run out of interceptors. The Jerusalem Post is calling for ethnic cleansing straight up, which is cool. They were having an opinion piece today or yesterday that said the only way Israel can govern the Gaza Strip without becoming an external oppressor of another people is to remove the other people from the confines of the Gaza Strip itself. So there you go. So an open call for ethnic cleansing. The Jews in Israel are insane. Like 85% of the Israelis support the war, even though they're getting bombed every day and they're spending all their time in bomb shelters. The Washington Post called the White House. This was a prank, I guess. Washington Post called the White House, and it came up as Epstein Island because somebody changed the name of the White House on Google Maps to Epstein Island, and it showed up on caller ID for some short period of time as Epstein Island. So that's kind of funny. Okay, blah, blah, blah. I told you about the aluminum plant that got hit in the UAE, big aluminum plant. Okay, then Tucker Carlson released the BB files, I think he called them. And in the BB files, Netanyahu admitted that he was funding Hamas, which everybody kind of knew, but he's on tape admitting it. Let's see, this is 3 minutes. That's too long for a clip. Let's see.
The public blames Netanyahu for October 7th as the one who fed the beast. He did not create Hamas, but he fed it.
Netanyahu, who is against peace and who is against having a Palestinian state, dealt with Hamas for a long time as a strategic friend.
אני מסובב שלא יצא. יש לנו כאן שכנים, הם אויבים מרים שלנו. אני מעבר להם מסרים כל הזמן. אני מטעה אותם, אני מעריך עליהם, אני מהתל בהם, משקר להם, ואחר כך נותן להם מכות על הראש.
It was important for him to keep Gaza under the control of Hamas and keeping the West Bank under the control of Fatah and preventing them from being united in any way. In order to do so, Netanyahu was all the time helping Hamas to survive.
All right, we kind of knew that. So that came out. And then there's, he was giving them $35 million a month, Hamas, apparently. And then Miriam Adelson is also on tape on the same Tucker Carlson thing, I think, talking about her relationship to Benjamin Netanyahu.
Some of the witnesses were interrogated twice, 3 times, 4 times. You have a rare opportunity to see the most powerful people in Israel in interrogation rooms dealing with questions that were never been asked. What did you give? What did you get? How many times you met him? And you see people in the most tense part of their life.
We always pay when we go out with him. All of Bibi's friends are rich. What can I say? If this comes out, I'm dead.
Get me a Cohiba Renegade cigar. That's what he asked for. $1,100 per box of 10. Wow.
Cuban cigars.
בדיוק, זאת השאלה, אם יש משהו, אנחנו בודקים בעבירות כאלה. היה שם סוג של תעשייה שעד היום... שעוסקת במה? שעוסקת בוא נקרא לזה...
An industry of high value gifts that you can't even imagine.
בלי להגיד מה המתנות ונדבר על תקופות.
From super wealthy millionaires to Sarah and Bibi. So, there you go. They said he had like sugar daddies. Every one of his relationships And then there's the story about him bringing dirty laundry to the White House. All right, so those are the stories for today. I didn't promote anything yet. If you want to support the show with something other than super chats, you can all, which are better than giving money, because you give 30% to YouTube with every super chat, and I don't get paid until I reach thresholds. If you want to do it in a more efficient way, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. I'll check to see if I got any today. That was the only way to support the show until recently. Pirate Justin got me a coffee. Thank you. Happy Sunday Fun Day. Careful gambling out there, Nate. Yes, I am gambling. L.M. Barker, Michelle bought 5 coffees? Really? Have a good week, Nathan. Thanks for the broadcast. Thank you, L.M. Barker. 5 coffees. Wow, that's great. Thank you. And then Emil bought 4 coffees. Dear Nathan, thank you for another great show. I skipped watching you since after Epstein's so-called suicide, and now I'm back last 2 weeks. This war's only started. Let's be ready for a long one and multiple front lines to be open and closed simultaneously. Next weekend going to be closed. Longer weekend for most of the stock markets as we Christians mourn the death on the cross and celebrate the resurrection of our Lord. Let's see if market makers will use the opportunity and make this Easter special loud. It's also Passover for Jews. Best greetings from Pole living in Ire. Thank you, Emil. 4 coffees is a lot. Thank you very much. Thanks, Ellen Barker, and thanks, Pirate Justin. Yes, if you want to support the show anytime, it's scrolling across the bottom of the screen, buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil. And you can also buy t-shirts still at Truth Revolution Clothing. That's truthclothing.io. We are on we have a going out of business, closeout, liquidation sale, $5 and $10 shirts. You can buy the Question Everything shirts. We still have some of those. Truth Matters. We have a few Doshi shirts. And then lots of cryptocurrency shirts still in stock. Bitcoin Saves, Crypto Future, Freedom of Face, Made in America shirts that are from the mask days, Last American Vagabond shirts, then lots, still a decent amount in different sizes of female style slouchies and shirts, all $10, Question Everything, which is super popular style. People love them when you go out. Super high quality shirts, all of them just on sale because we're closing down the shop. So go ahead and go to that. That's truthclothing.io. The truthclothing.io and buymeacoffee.com/lifttheveil are always scrolling across the bottom of this broadcast and are the most efficient ways to support the show, although we appreciate your super chats. Just want to give a shout out again to Question Everything Twice and Shaft for the super chats on this show. Appreciate you guys. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I will go through the news and see how soon I can be back. Try to do the show around 3 p.m. my time, 6 p.m. Eastern time, most of the time, if possible. Not necessarily every day, but in general, I'm shooting for that time so I can get out and work afterwards. So that's it. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Good to see you guys. We'll see you at the next one. For now, that's what it is.